Welcome back to the Boot Room podcast and Inside the Mind of. I've had to change a few things behind the scenes because I want to interview someone from every country in the world. And today we are going to be ticking off that box once more. Alongside me is, of course, Harry Hennings. Welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you to Kraig for joining us and Jamie again. Another one ticked off for
Absolutely. Kraig, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. So, as I just said off camera there, we absolutely love your content creation. Sorry, I had a packet of crisps before I joined, blimey.
It's all right.
So, could you speak to us about your content creation journey? We're actually going to jump ahead to the sort of where you are now. Why did you want to do that?
I didn't actually... You know, content creation, it's like... Basically, my friend has a boxing gym. Well, he didn't have a boxing gym. We have a boxing gym that we have access to. And one day, I just thought, let me pretend to be like a football agent. Just did a little video. Just posted it, because I promised myself, I'm never downloading TikTok. And I posted on Instagram as well. People just liked it. Honestly, I was just messing around, and I am still just messing around. I don't really have a goal in mind. But then people they kept just connecting with the videos. And it's quite niche, you know? I don't think anyone's done it before in that kind of respect, like stepping into someone's, a manager's shoes and hearing the same stuff, and everyone's like, I've heard this before, Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, alright, it's quite positive as well, because it's sending a different... What I'm doing is telling a story. I'm not complaining, but I'm basically telling people, this isn't just you. And in hindsight, it's just funny, like this stuff does happen in other industries too. It just is what it is, right? So, yeah.
I mean, that's what I was going to say, obviously. Do you think people engage more because it is so niche, because it's something that you don't see a lot of people doing? Like, everyone can talk about football to the camera, but not everyone does what you're doing. So do you think that's a reason as to why?
Yeah, so when people come up to me and say, I'm not gloating, by the way, but when people come up to me and say, I like your content, I always make sure to ask why. It's like data, and it's like you go to a restaurant, can you leave me a review? What is it you like about it? And everyone just says, no, it's just mad relatable. And you get some parents sending it to their children as well, because obviously parents have heard the excuses before. Not the excuses, just the same lines and the way. Look, some gaffers are characters. They're not bad, it's characters, right? And it's just, we've all heard it, whether it's Sunday League, whatever level, you've heard it, right? So, yeah.
Well, I saw a video as early as recent as today, and I'm definitely going to misquote this, but it was something along the lines of, when your manager in step 18 thinks that he's Jose Mourinho. That was a very good video. Is that sort of based off a real story? Because I think we can all understand that managers of the really niche local clubs from down the road to all of us, they all think that they are Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho, to some extent.
As they should, some of them, they think they are.
But do you think is that based off a story that you've done, though? Like, have you been in that environment before where managers really think that is the case for them?
Oh no, that video, just to be honest, that one was a remake of like the Dele Alli and Jose Mourinho one from the Amazon Prime documentary. So it's just, but it does that same stuff does happen to like other players. You just add a little spin to it, and people clock it and they're like, okay, fair, I understand what you're doing here. So yeah, it's just the variations of the character, really. I feel like that gaffer he's a character now. He's a character. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, on the topic of the Amazon Prime documentary, as a Spurs fan, that's got to be my most favourite thing I've ever watched, because I just loved how, like, the insight to the club and how it was run, especially lockdown as well, COVID, everything in between. But did you watch the documentary?
Yeah, I don't remember all of it. I do remember that part, but it was quite interesting for me as well, because it doesn't really differ. If you're an under 21, under 18, it's still kind of run the same way. Like, the manager wants to talk to you. Don't get me wrong, the manager in the first team setups is quite distant. If you're a manager, it's much more distant. It can be. Like, it doesn't mean he takes all the sessions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which can be the case in like non-league as well. Just depends on the style. Some people are more hands-on, and some people are focused more on management, which is totally different to coaching.
I'm really keen to learn about your career in general. So in your early career, you've obviously played for a variety of big clubs, QPR, of course Norwich in there as well. What was your first proper experience of football? Because I think all of us growing up have always wanted to be professional footballers.
When you say proper experience, what do you kind of mean?
Your first academy experiences. Like, when did you decide to take that step up?
Whoa, they decided for me. So when I was playing for, I'd say I was playing for Brent, which is my borough. And back in like 2010 to 2012, like district football, which is what it's called, was quite big. It's where like some academies, even academy players, even if they were playing academy football, on a Saturday they'll still represent their borough. And myself and another player called Dominic Thompson, who he's actually doing quite well for himself now, we got scouted for Arsenal. So went down to Arsenal, and Arsenal, like that under 12s, they were doing some advanced like sessions, and that exposed me to like, okay, this is the standard. Didn't do quite well in the training sessions. I eased into it, but it was still good to see what the actual standard was, because that was kind of the pinnacle for me. The football they were playing, I was like, yeah, I was a session killer. I needed that. But then from there, that's when I kind of floated around the setups. Like, that was my proper like introduction to, okay, this is football. You used to like being that guy in your area, but then, nah, you get out your area and like, yeah, this is football. And I was like, okay. You start buckling up from there. You're like, all right.
I mean, I was a big fan of Dominic Thompson. I think he was at Brentford, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching him then and thinking that he's got the potential to go all the way. Obviously, he unfortunately didn't quite make it at Brentford, but he's still been on that journey of a typical sort of player where they could get to the Premier League level, but are they more Championship League One sort of level? What was your interpretation of that?
Of Dominic?
Yeah.
It's just like competitive, really. It's just very competitive. You never know whether it's like the player who wants to go to a certain place, whether it's the agent. You just never know. I just know football's very fast paced. And there's loads of players where you think, oh, you should be in the Prem or should be in the Championship. It's just how the cookie. There's so many players, like so many players that agents know players, know directors of football who they know. It's just stacked, really. Like the players that you thought were going to be like at the pinnacle, I can't explain it really. That's how football is. It's just crazy. Yeah.
Your first experience of men's football, what was that like for a young player who has always been competitive where he was in Brent and then moved into the academy environment and now making senior first team minutes?
So here's where it's interesting, right? And here's where I think the game has evolved for young players. I first got sent on loan from QPR to Basingstoke, and that was the Ryman Prem at the time. But as like this academy player who's like quite like he's got you go into a clean changing room and you leave your boots at the ground and going to non-league. I feel like a lot of us, I can't speak for everyone, we didn't understand the importance of getting that exposure. So yeah, I did what I was told, but I kind of saw it as, do these guys even rate me? When it wasn't the case. It's just that this is important for your development. For example, if you in academy football, you don't really get to head of the ball much, and it sounds funny, right? But I'm 6'3". For example, I got to work on the timing of my jumping. A lot of players were beating me to headers, which you wouldn't think, but because you don't really have to jump and whatnot, you're kind of used to like winning every battle. Now everyone's fighting for every 50-50. It was vital for me. Obviously, people wanted to win, and I don't. Do you know what? I there's people often over-exaggerate in under-21s football. People do want to win. I believe in under-21s football. Players play to win, but it's just the environment. You've got the fans, and everyone's like in the thick of it. Sometimes the pitches ain't great. The gaffer needs to win because the gaffers want to progress as well, right? And that's the difference. And then you understand when and where to do things, and kind of the cost of it. So if you make this mistake here, this is what happens to the club. Not just the team, it's what happens to the club. And the club have a vision too. So it's like a domino effect, right?
Did you have any sort of crazy experiences growing up then, playing in these sort of pitches with Basingstoke, going to grounds where they've got poor pitch conditions, or was it always fairly even?
I say it was disastrous. I think I was ready for that. I knew what to expect. It was just a bit of a shock to the system, understanding why am I here. A lot of it was mental, like, okay, am I rated? What happens now? Do I get stuck here? Yeah. Is it a bad thing if I get stuck here? What are they trying to tell me? What am I going to learn? a lot of it was mental. I don't think I have any crazy experiences other than, you know, you start to understand, okay, if you don't get game time, is this the right place for me? Or didn't happen at Basingstoke, but again, I'll elaborate.
I suppose there's footballers all across the chain that have their own individual issues with managers or teams, and obviously we've heard some stories. I'm sure you've been in an environment where that is the case. I'm going to touch upon two clubs here, two clubs that in the non-league system are really highly regarded. It's Hendon Town and Moulton and Tiptree. And Moulton and Tiptree have been in the press recently. They've got a new chairman, I believe, who's quite the man, it seems. What's your recognition of those two clubs within the non-league system?
Well, Hendon, at the time, I was just I had a friend who was going down to train at Hendon. He was already quite established in the game, and I was just training because in my head I thought, you know what, I'm going to get back into another under 21 setup. I'm an under 21s player. I'm this guy that's just come from QPR. Right? I'm not playing for Hendon. That's what I was thinking. Wrong mentality. I didn't have a bad attitude. It's just how the information you're given at the time. And the information I was given at the time was, mate, we're going to get you back into like a West Ham or something. Just go there, train. But the manager at the time was like, no, you seem good enough. Look, I'm going to give you X, Y, Z a week and just come down and play. And personally, I feel like Hendon was I grew up in a place called Kingsbury, right? And Hendon is literally on the road where I grew up, basically. It meant a lot to play for Hendon. I was like, fair enough. Again, though, I didn't understand. I was playing quite well, but I didn't understand if I kept playing well where I could go to from there. And I guess it was that motivation that I lacked. Because Hendon was a good club, good standard. I don't think they were doing well at the time, but I was playing well. So again, a lot of it was understanding, why am I here? What is the goal? Where do I go from here? Because without knowing that, it kind of hinders your performance, because you're like, you need that motivation of what's next.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, from what I can understand with lower league clubs, that they sometimes can be quite stubborn and harsh and ruthless with players they bring in, bring out, etc. So was there ever was there a tough competition for places in the squad, or were you fairly guaranteed to be starting?
At the time with Hendon, I was brought in because I don't think they could find. But they couldn't find, but I fit the bill, really. It was more so up to me how serious I was about playing at that level. Looking back and being honest, I wasn't that serious because I didn't understand the game at that level. At 19, playing at step 3 football regular at 19 is a big thing now. When I look at 19-year-olds now and they're playing step 3 football, I'm like, hats off to you. I don't know if I was told that enough. I was told the opposite. Now we're going to get you back into under 21 setup. So in my head, I was like, maybe I'm not doing good enough. So I didn't really take it. I always take football serious, but I didn't take that journey seriously at the time.
But I think that's the same with a lot of players that we speak to, and I think there maybe needs to be some more mentorship for those younger players coming through. Look, I know that when you mentioned wages there, you said X, Y, and Z. And I'm not expecting you to go into any sort of exposure to what players earn down there. But in the lower leagues, is the money decent for that level? Can people live off full time playing for clubs like Hendon?
I don't know. I think it depends on the player. I wouldn't advise living full time off a non-league wage. I think things can change unless you're on a contract, but I wouldn't advise it anyway. For reasons like off the pitch, you've got a lot of time in your hands. I always recommend looking at what you're interested in away from football, whether it's identifying problems you've come across in sport and trying to, rally a few troops and, coming up with a business plan, or see what else out there could suit you so you can actually make a living and build a career, so you're not putting all your pressure on football, which can also ease pressure and make sure you're not just you're trying too hard, basically. You're fine. The money I was on, no, you couldn't live full time. I could get along because of the age I was 19. As long as I could pay a few of my bills and play football, really. But that wasn't the case. After a while, I had to get a full-time job, or a part-time job at least, to make ends meet. But yeah, sorry, I don't know why I said ends meet like that. Too much time at work,
And without being too sort of intrusive, if it's okay to ask this, what sort of level of part-time job did you have? Because obviously I understand that when Spurs played Tamworth years ago in the FA Cup, there was a player playing for Tamworth who worked in Zara. I'm not sure if you know about that, but is it sort of working at sort of level, or is it working a little bit above that or below that?
So I know a lot of players worked in a few players worked in retail. For me, I had a cousin at the time, an older cousin, who had his own estate agency. So I was like, look, can I come help you out there? So I had to put on my suit, travel 2 hours to Wimbledon, mad, and do some viewings and like sometimes in like Surrey or like it was far. But I was grateful, I had my little money, could still sometimes go out with my friends, which was important. And then it wasn't much at all, but again it was all about making those ends meet. And at that level, if you're not on contract, that money can go at any time, right? So it was good that I was working towards something, building skills as well, getting myself into the real world, working in an office as well, with different types of people, which was also very character building for me. And you do transfer that into sport without realising really. So it was very good that I was able to do a job like that.
I suppose it might be made a bit easier if you're like a PT, and then you could basically be doing full-time football, right? It's constantly working on the body. Malton and Tiptree, as I mentioned, has gained obviously a load of social media interest. Their chairman is quite unique in some aspects, and obviously clubs like Farnham as well. So in non-league, there's always that wall to be able to build on and to represent players like going on Love Island and things like that. Surely you've been approached for things like that in the past, right?
Not Love Island. I don't think it's something I would do.
Really?
To be fair, I've been tired. I haven't been in a position to do that. Basically, I've always been like
but if they ask,
a relationship guy. Nah, I wouldn't do it. There'd have to be some like major plan of like where you're gonna get to after it, and I don't think that's something I'd personally. It's not my bag really, if I'm being honest.
So obviously then upcoming next, you did spend time in Belgium. Now it's quite a jump, obviously a young age to go from England, places like Malton to Belgium. I'm not sure if the laugh signifies anything that happened, but speak to us about your career having that short spell in Belgium.
Story of my life, really. Belgium, and this is around the COVID time, really. Belgium's quite random. My friend went up to Belgium. He met this agent out he's from Switzerland, but very nice guy, very good guy. He was actually one of the agents I trust to this day. Came through on his word, doesn't overpromise. When I went out to Belgium, right, again, these clubs aren't the most secure, the communication isn't great. You're out there, right, and you're this guy, remember I'm 21 now. I've got a mum to help. I don't come from those families where I can just rely on. I always say this, right, trials need to be paid for. They're not cheap at all. You're growing up now. Things are getting real. You've got to start working and if you've got people to support, right? Now, there's this whole I'm not going to call it illusion, that's quite, drastic. It's the whole thing of just go abroad, you've got nothing to lose, go abroad. Like, look at Kante and look what they did. Look, I was at the stage where I had bills to pay, I had stuff to lose, right? The money has to start making sense at a stage. I was always very sceptical, although I think I would have done well in Belgium, but I was always very sceptical that, am I going to get paid, first of all? No disrespect to the club, because you do hear these stories. And is this enough for me to even get by? And if I've got to go out and get another job as well, I can just do that in England, really. Because you can... There's this whole thing about abroad, but you can make it in a decent level in England if you put your head to it. Like I believe you can. If you've got the right support around you and you're consistent, you're playing week in, week out, you can progress. If you go abroad, for someone like myself, it has to make sense. I knew deep down it didn't make sense. Plus, maybe it could have, but I didn't have the support system around me. I had, obviously, my mum. I had a man called Mark who went out of his way to support me. He's not my family at all, but I see him as my family because of the time he put into me, because he could see the potential. So he always looked out for me. But you need... It's like a boxer, right? You see the boxer get in the ring. They have a whole team behind them. And it's important for players, especially young players like myself and coming from where I come from. You need that support, that mental support. No one does it by themselves. You think they're these like robust characters. When they're going through tough times, they need people to lean on, right? and they need that advice. So yeah.
Well, I think the advice is what we're trying to dig ourselves into now, is especially in mental health months and things like that. It's really important to speak up on ins and outs of football, but obviously speaking about that. When you moved to Belgium, obviously you mentioned it was in that period of COVID, it was after Brexit, so God knows how you would have managed to sustain something out there. But to move to the third tier, surely you see the number 3 and you think, wow, there's only 2 promotions off playing Club Brugge.
Yeah, basically the reason why I even went out there is because I trusted the agent as well. There was, if you did well in Belgium at the time, you can move fairly quickly. Also, there's the aspect of, look, let's be straight, right? It's the aspect of just moving country in general. You know, it just comes like that. And again, you're also you're getting to those kind of ages where you're growing up as well. Like, I had a girlfriend at the time. Got to leave your girlfriend, which was I didn't want to do. You know, I value that. So I'll just be honest. And yeah, you're going through other mental stuff. Like, you're always wondering. You're seeing what other players are going through. Oh, we didn't get paid. So it's like, well, am I going to go somewhere I can see chaos? I don't have that. If I don't get paid, yeah, it's going to be rough. And I've got bills to pay back in England and a mother to support. So everyone's situation is different. On the pitch, it might look like, yeah, you could get here, but what's the logistics like? You know, again, like I say, it has to make sense. Everyone's situation is different. So I never judge a player based on this, that you don't know what the situation is like and what's going to allow them to flourish. Yes, you have to be uncomfortable sometimes, but it has to be realistic.
I think that's a really good point you make there, because actually you see all these football players, you think lavish lifestyle, they live the dream, I wish we could be like them, but actually, you know, even look at the goalkeeper for Cape Verde. He lost his grandparents. His mother was denied, not denied a visa, but they had struggles getting a visa. And no one knew that before the game. That came out after the game. And so to make the point about you've got a mother to care for is exactly right. They're the small things in football that matter more than what happens on the pitch.
Exactly. Which transfer to the game and allow you to actually perform to the best of your ability. But there is emotional regulation involved where, like, I feel like athletes are very good at that. You never know, like you just said, you never know what's going on. You know, look at Anthony Joshua jumping back into the ring after what's just happened to him. That takes it's a massive skill, emotional regulation, to be able to park some of the emotions you're feeling and perform at a high level. It's a massive skill, which some people learn at different speeds, you know.
For sure. And in that football environment, because it's such good timing, because obviously we've been speaking a lot about mental health off the camera too. It's really important, and perhaps in a men's changing room it's quite a taboo topic. I mean, maybe you could tell me otherwise, but I wouldn't have thought a group of 25 men really in that environment would really come forward with those problems.
So there were stages where, like, remember 21 as well, was the Gold Cup for Grenada,
which we will speak about in a moment, by the way.
Yeah. So, like, I again, touching on how fast-paced football is, not to have some sort of sob story, but I experienced a death in the family that made a lot of changes to my family and my setup and how I viewed my family and viewed the people around me, which at the time I was experiencing delayed grief. And I started to overthink football. I said, I need to make it. I was not realising, you know, I'm 21 playing international football at a major tournament at the Gold Cup. Like you touched on, the football change room, at the time, I felt like everyone had to be like, yeah, don't show any weakness. And you know, if you're going through something, it's not weakness. It's not only until after I'd left the camp where I opened up to someone who's now the chairman of the PFA. And he's like, bro, why didn't you just tell me? Like, why didn't you just tell me? And I was like, oh, fairs. But I didn't think I could, you know? Like, I was just going to handle my stuff and, you know, come back when I'm ready. So it's interesting, the football change room can be a very tough place to be. And I feel like that's molded into my personality now. Like, a lot of my personality is banter. Sometimes, you know, I could cross the line with my friend, but it's because what we're used to, like, it does mould you that way to be like, you build thick skin, but then it's about how you deal with yourself as well. Are you being nice to yourself and realistic to yourself? Which is what I want to get. I want to spread the message to footballers where you are human first, you know what I mean? Like, For me, on the external, I'm this guy. Yeah, I train and know how to fight and whatnot, but I also know that I've got emotions, and my emotions are different to other people, and I want to be able to create a safe space myself, so I'm good to others. You know what I mean? And I'm good to myself, so I can express myself on the pitch and understand other people, understand my teammates, so I can become a leader. You know. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 2 points again that you make. The first one being there does need to be more publicity around men's mental health because it isn't spoken about enough. But secondly, I think you also make another good point that we do need to focus on ourselves before others in some circumstances, because if we just put others before us, when's a sort of time to reflect on ourselves and actually ask yourself, how are you feeling? Because that's not asked about enough by a long chalk.
100%.
I wanted to touch upon your national team career. We will go back to speak about your clubs, but you've got us into a good moment. I've got a couple of questions, as we all do as these footballing fan geeks, and I wanted to start you off actually with your first ever call up to the national team was obviously with the senior team. How did that call come about? Because I was going to say it wouldn't have been a fax machine. How dare I insult you? But it probably would have been like a phone call or something, right? So talk to me through that.
Yeah. So one day I was at QPR. I just thought, I want to play for Grenada, you know. How do I do that? Yeah, my grandparents from Grenada. That's just how I am. Oh, yeah, I want to play for Grenada. Fancy that. So I asked the agent that I wasn't actually signed to, but I knew him. And he did what he needed to do. I don't know how he did it. And it turns out there was a under-20s championships. So I went out to Florida. Again, I had never really, growing up, I was never going on holiday or leaving the country. So I was out in Florida for 2 and a bit weeks. And it was great. I got to understand my culture as well and the people in Grenada. Because as far as I'm concerned, I was as English as it gets, do you know what I mean? Going to Grenada was very good for me. Saw the world. Then we ended up in Tampa. And, playing sport in America is also big as well. Regardless of what everyone says about America, if you go out into America and play sport, you feel like they make you feel good about it, which is very good, So again, before football was exposed to my culture, which is very important for me. Again, it's all paid for. You're quite, pampered. Yeah, dinner's there. Yeah, you go pick up your dinner. I'll touch on those stuff in a minute as well. How it's not set me back as a man, but I'll touch on it because you as an athlete, you're pampered, right, from a young age.
Yeah.
But then understanding you're now representing your country, you got people cheering on your country. It's you take a step back. You play against Jamaica. Everyone knows Jamaica. Do you know what I mean? And then from there, I did really well. I kind of showed the locals in Grenada the standard as well. Of these are players if you want to make it out of the island, which I hope they do, because it's quite tough. This is the standard. This is how you got to carry yourself. This is what you do after you play a game. This is how you recover. So it was good for me to take up that role in general as well, and I feel like I lived up to it for the under-20s.
We often
I'll highlight under-20s.
Well, of course, but we always speak about the national teams and what they do and don't provide. But we often always hear that these islands, probably the same as Grenada and the Cape Verdes of the world, they often seem to have a lot healthier options rather than the packet of crisps I ate before the podcast. So what's provided to you as a national team then? And would that differ depending on what age ranking you are?
What do you mean in terms of food?
In terms of food, yes.
Oh yeah, when you go, so of course if you're in Grenada, you stay at maybe it's a Radisson or whatnot, and yeah, they got lovely food. You just got to make sure you don't eat too much. And see me, I like some food, me. I'm just I'm here, I'll have that. I think a few players are does this guy eat at home? Yes, I do. My mum was you make sure you don't go there and act like you don't eat at home. And I'm just no, I'm gonna make the most of it. Do you know what I mean? Great food. Obviously, when you go to a complex we stay at the IMG for the under-20s. Don't know if you know about the IMG in Florida. Very good facility. Of course, it's like a buffet. Everything is provided for you. So that's not on Grenada. It's on CONCACAF and whatnot.
Okay. And what's the country actually like then compared to England? Because I imagine it's better weather. But is it susceptible to hurricanes or intense weather? I'm not too sure.
They had one, I think, last year. It was terrible.
Okay.
Terrible. But as a country in general, remember I went there late. The first time I went there was 18.
Yeah.
I was saying it today in the office. It's a beautiful country. Like, everyone's nice. Like, when I went there one time, I was by myself. People come over like, why are you sitting by yourself? You want some food? You want some drinks? Like, you've been in a hotel. It's very like, you don't walk past anyone without saying, oh, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. It's very, you feel at peace in that country, Grenada. You feel, that's the word. If you're ever looking to just escape and just be at peace and just take a deep breath, that is the country to go to. And it's probably the case for most Caribbean islands. I can't speak for all of them, but Grenada is I love being there.
Yeah, I mean, by the sounds of it, it sounds lovely, and it's somewhere that I definitely put on my wish list to go to.
Yeah.
But you mentioned before about how it's normal to greet people good morning, good evening, and that's something very small, but it's so important because you don't get that enough in the world now, especially in England, especially in London. You go onto the tube, onto the train, everyone's got their AirPods in, headphones in, no one says a word.
Yeah.
But you look back on the country 100 years ago, people would discuss over a newspaper in their suits and like smart attire, but it seems as if have diminished massively now.
Yeah, it has. To be fair, if you go down to Yorkshire, I've got family in Huddersfield. There's a lot of Grenadians in Huddersfield. I think in Yorkshire people are a bit more open to say hi, and you walk past someone, it's not like, this guy's a weirdo. What's he doing? Why is he saying hi to me? I think it's just London. Yeah, it's just London, really. I don't know where that's been picked up, but you're right. It makes you feel safe. It's just a nice thing to do, really. Walk past someone, you're right. I try and do that to guys now. Even I highlight guys because I feel like nowadays you walk in, guys are like, if I'm in the gym, I nod my head, and you start building relationships with people. You know, I don't walk around with a screw face, and you never know who people are, really. You know, and it's a skill to carry. Like, you know what, we're in the same gym, we're in the same place, whatnot. We're here for the same reason. Respect to you. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, sorry, fellas, about me disconnecting my camera.
So I thought you went there. I thought I was boring.
Well, no, I'm now on the old laptop camera, which is why I'm looking down here and the quality's not so good, so I apologise. Could you talk to me then? I mean, the gym's a really important thing. I mean, maybe if you saw us I'm 6'2", Harry's maybe 6 foot. We don't go to the gym, but I think we're in half decent shape. But the gym is quite like a taboo place again. It's quite masculine. It's quite, as you touched upon there. I mean, even today I walk past someone and I try to give them a smile and they don't smile back. And and do you know what? You'd actually expect that around here because it is that sort of nice area that we think of. But it's quite brave to do that, right? Because you're the one initiating that smile.
Touching on that, I personally think it's got a lot to do with my physique.
Are you ripped?
I'm in decent condition. So people look at that and naturally I think it's a respect thing. People think, oh, guys look at girls. No, guys look at guys. Guys look at guys, and they seek validation from guys, I think, as well, if I'm being honest. And not a bad thing, saying that, it's just denied. And if they see a guy in shape, you're more like, I think, touching on what you said, I think you're more likely to get interaction. If I was struggling with an exercise, I'm more likely to go to someone that's a bit jacked or looks in shape. It's just how it is, you know. Or you're more likely to go to a personal trainer who's in shape than someone who's not, you know. And that's not a bad thing.
Well, I suppose it goes back to that, not saying, but, you know, you're never going to go to a PT who's obese, or, you know, there's PE teachers who are obese. They're probably not the PE teacher that you want them to be.
But they still could be. They still could know their stuff. But, you know, we all do look at the external first sometimes. Yeah.
Presentation, right?
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Because look at Terence Crawford's trainer. No disrespect to him. He's not like this guy that's in shape. I'm not sure if you know him. The boxer Terence Crawford, but he's got a trainer and he's not necessarily in shape, but he's just beat Canelo. Do you know what I mean? So people might know stuff, but like you said, we just look at the external.
Well, that's something that happens again too much now, as people judge a book by its cover, and then you hear them say later down the line, "Oh, actually, he's quite a nice person." Well, if you gave him the chance and the time, then you might have got to know him better.
Yeah, it's like a car nowadays. They're made affordable so people can get high-end cars. It's like I've been through stuff myself. And I'll touch on that as well, where I've had a decent car, but I've been broke because I've been released. Now I know, just because someone on the external looks clean, you don't know what's going on. You don't know how they got it. You know, you don't know. That's allowed me to think deeper and actually understand people.
Well, I was going to say the same thing. It bleeds onto everything that you do because you see that one situation and it bleeds onto the rest. And that, like they always say, it's usually the people who are the loudest in the room who often have the most difficulties behind the scenes for some reason. I mean, I don't have the explanation to that. But when you went to the Gold Cup, I mean, this is a tournament that, when you said that you felt English as ever before you decided to change your alliance, the Gold Cup isn't spoken about in England. I mean, I know what it is, but perhaps those outside don't. Did you know what it is before you moved there?
To be fair, no. But it's this thing that we were in the Nations League, to be fair, from about 19 we were trying to qualify for. So at the age of 19, that's when I became aware of it. And it was the first time they had qualified in about 9 or 10 years. I can't remember which one it was. So it was a big thing when we did qualify. Qualified when we were about, 20 or whatnot. And I was the youngest by far, to be fair, you know. And it was just great to be out there and be part of some success. Yeah, you're right. The Gold Cup's not spoken about. Not sure why, but again, I think it's just a respect to those countries. And look, let's call a spade, right? A lot of the countries, apart from USA and Mexico, you won't really know them. Curacao, of course, they were just played. Are part of CONCACAF, so they're representing, which is very good. But apart from that, you don't really know the teams, and do they do very well? Hopefully USA do, Mexico do, but we just don't at the moment. So that's a big factor.
Well, on that topic, who are your favourites for the World Cup? And are there anyone that you put out have like as a dark horse who haven't lived up to expectation as of yet?
My favourites. I'm just gonna have to say France. Who I want to win is England, but a dark horse is USA.
Really?
USA?
I don't know, I'm just gonna put it out there. You know, with these time differences as well, like I get back from work and a lot of these games are on at like during midnight, so I'm not gonna say I've watched all the games and settled in. I've not really got the World Cup fever yet.
Yeah,
it's a bit weird.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah. It's really weird because even when England play tomorrow, but I think this happens in most tournaments. I'm not going to be, screaming at the TV in jubilation. I mean, we're probably expected to win because we only really care when it gets to the later stages because we've expected so much of England. But for those small countries like Curacao, that keeper for Cape Verde making one save in the game is better. But he did even better and did what he did. Could you speak to us then about when you travelled to these fixtures? I mean, you mentioned the USA there. You ended up playing them. What was that? I mean, look, it wasn't the best day for yourself, but what's that experience like to play against the biggest known country out there?
Well, they take sports seriously, so like I made a joke about this. I'm walking out to fireworks, or there's a DJ in the stadium, or there's like people like there from early. You got ESPN there. I'm thinking, I'm this guy from like northwest London. I'm going out to fireworks. You start to realise who you are, the stage you're on. And you can either take two ways, right? I've got nothing to lose, no pressure. Or you can think, all the pressure's on me, I've got to do so well. Now, the message I try and spread now is, don't think about what's after the game. Think about what you can do in the game. Yeah. After the game doesn't really matter, because if you start looking ahead, that's when your performance is at risk. Your playing well is at risk, sorry, I should say. That's a lesson I had to learn the hard way. Because I was always thinking, right, if I do well here, I need to make it, mate. This is where I could go. And you're not present. And that lesson you learn, when you go through things in life, everything requires you to be present. Because the next stage isn't guaranteed. Get a bit deep there, but, it's true. You have to be present, right? And I'm not saying I'm this expert and I do it. I need to start taking my own advice. But the lessons are there to be learned. It's in front of you. You learn them for a reason. Be present. Focus on your game. Don't be looking over the opposition or what's next because you don't know if it's going to happen. You could play so well, and it might still not happen.
Yeah, exactly. And to come up with these established players like Haji Wright, Brenden Aaronson of Leeds, DeAndre Yedlin, who's once a former Spurs man as well. I wanted to ask, just how high were their standards, and was it hard? And did you learn anything from them by just simply showing a picture of them? Did you learn something from them in the sense that, my God, they're such a higher level than I am?
I'll be honest, right? When you're on the pitch, you don't know who's who, because the difference is, right? You know when you do phase of play, those boring sessions in training, and you pass it from here to here, they're telling you when you get the ball here, pass it to here. They take phase of play and they take it into the game, So they pass from here, and they're taking 2 touches. You got all these players now, like you sit on a bench sometimes in like non-league, and the guy's doing like all these tricks. Yeah, he's got a bit of technique. But you don't see them do that. They do it in the right places. It's the ball speed. It's 1-2 touch. Now I know a good player is he checks his shoulder, he takes 2 touches, the ball's left him, because the purpose is to get the ball into the other net. You know, we're not dwelling on the ball here. The speed of the game. It's intense. It's like fast. It's fast. That's why I say I didn't even realise I was playing against Brenden Aaronson. I didn't realise that. You got Weston McKennie. I'm not looking at, oh my god, that's Weston McKennie on the ball. You know, that's a player. He's not here to mess around. You could barely get to them. They know what to do before they receive the ball.
Could I ask you, and this is no disrespect to yourself, there's no disrespect to any country out there, but of course there's going to be standards between the USA and smaller islands like Grenada. So when, I suppose it's actually quite a positive thing, so when the USA matches up against a country like Grenada, as a player, how do you feel? Because obviously you want to beat the USA, but the USA are probably thinking this is going to be, a 7-goal thriller.
I like to be honest, right? You have to think you're going to win. But I wasn't thinking we're going to win. I just like to be real. Yeah. I do my best. Am I thinking we're going to get the victory? No. I'm not thinking we're going to get that. But we held them till 0-0 to about that 44th minute. You know? And after the game, I saw the Americans complaining that we couldn't... they couldn't break us down. Bear in mind, we had slept in the airport.
What?
Yeah, because what happens is when there's a storm out there, like the England team will tell you now, the plane couldn't progress. It landed, but the plane has to stop moving when there's a storm in Miami, for example. So we still had another flight to take to Austin. So everything was on standstill. So we slept in the air. I got cramp. That's why I came off. I got cramp. I couldn't. We're on a plane. We're all like crunched up. I'm a big guy, right? A lot of us, we slept in the airport. I barely slept. By the time we did sleep, we got a hotel in Miami. We slept for 2 hours, right? We went to Austin. Of course, I think we had a day before the game in Austin. So a night in Austin. That's not enough. I was also carrying an injury in both of my knees, which I hadn't located. I didn't know what it was. So you've got temporary things to get you over the line. So mentally, I wasn't thinking my body's in the best condition. So I was playing like I was injured when I wasn't. But the pitch is so soft. My knees were fine. But I didn't get that time to kind of acclimatise. So all that played. I think to hold them to 0-0 to about half time, given the circumstances, given the fact that these players probably played together more times than we have, was a decent achievement, and it showed progress. I should say progress in the island.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's League A of the Nations League as well. So we're the big boys now.
So again, something else I wanted to come on to, something Jamie and I were quite interested in. You played along Dejon Noel-Williams, who did go on to be on Love Island, to star on Love Island. So what was it like? Obviously at the time he didn't have any idea of going on to that in the future. What was he like as a person?
It's quite laid back, to be fair. Quite laid back. Quite a humble character, is what I saw of him. Just your typical footballer, really. Got a bit of swag about him. Got a bit of something about him. Did I expect to go on Love Island? No. Do I know him to that well to be like, oh, he's a Love Island character? No. But I guess he took his fitness seriously and he wanted to, put himself out. I'm not saying he went on to Love Island for that. But yeah, quite a laid back character, and I can see how he could be misunderstood sometimes. Because he's just laid back. He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
When he was on Love Island, did you watch him? Did you message him afterwards saying well done on Love Island? Naturally,
you support him. Obviously, the way it's edited, you see some things where I feel like they do it on purpose to make you question them. But naturally, you have that. Yeah, you have that support for someone. Obviously, you shared a pitch with, shared a change room as well. I watched it. And I know it was probably tough for him when he come out as well. But yeah, you see him around sometimes, and it's like, you're not, you don't see all your teammates all the time. But, you know, naturally, especially as a Grenadian first, yeah, you got that, that kind of like, you know, like, you know, that's my people.
And it's really interesting. I mean, I'd really like to speak to Dejon. I think he's a really interesting guy. And speaking about national teams, is there national team group chats that you get added to for the tournaments, and then perhaps you're not on them anymore, or are you?
No, I was on them, and they're quite fun, right? Because, you know, when you're away as well, you do get some downtime. The first time I ever went to play for Grenada, we were in Puerto Rico. I'm in Puerto Rico at 19, mate. 19, Puerto Rico. Oh, what a time. What a time. And you've got all those memories, and I still speak, like, we're still cool, we can still message all of them. Remember, a lot of them were older than me as well, so you get a lot of experience from them, just in life in general. So you are in a group chat, you know, it's not all about on the pitch. I think off the pitch is so much more important, especially for a younger player, to feel comfortable in a team, so he can express himself, which I didn't always feel, which I did think affected my performances. And I didn't play badly looking back, I just had very high expectations. But off the pitch, all those group chats, they make a difference, which is why it's important. I don't know, Harry, you saw the Tottenham documentary when Mourinho asked about Sissoko, for example, and his personality. That's a massive thing. Like, you got to play with a personality. When you're 3-0 down, yeah, you need that guy that kind of has that energy about him, you know, that people, like, you know, bounce off of. Oh, he's here today. Oh, he's travelled. You feel better before the game naturally. Like, people talk about Henderson, and I saw a few of the players saying they'll be. If you ask any England player, he'll be part of my top 5. You can't question that because he's always in the team. If someone's always choosing him, there is a reason. All right, that's one thing I've learned. There is a reason. It's never for no reason, because we're here to win games. No one's here to lose. So if you see a player in the team, he is there for a reason. Don't question it. You don't know what the reason is. You actually question it. Of course you can question it. But 9 times out of 10, he's there for a reason.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point again. But as you mentioned, Moussa Sissoko, he was a player that struggled with confidence, and when his confidence was low, you could see that in his performance. But on the flip side, when his confidence was sky high, he was actually a machine in the midfield for us. He was part of that Champions League final squad. Obviously, the final, not so memorable for him for the handball inside of the minute, but that's besides the point. The point is that I think he went through some really, really low points in that documentary that were called out by Mourinho and the coaching staff. But I think actually just being around the teammates and having players like Kane and Lloris, like, you know, senior members you're supposed to talk to, really, really helped him.
1,000%. We're men, but we are people with emotions, right? And I always say this, right? People express themselves in different ways. So you can see a player getting more red cards than usual. Now people be like, oh, this guy's just a reckless guy. Yeah, he's just this, he's just that. Who's going to sit down with him and be like, you know, let me understand you as a person. What have you actually been through? What were you like as a child? What's your home environment like? Then you start to see, okay, this is why this person's this way. How can I then manage him? And managing is a big thing. Manage, you know, to get the best out of you. And that's the difference sometimes. That's why some managers are the way they are. They know if you need a talking to. They know if you need an arm around the shoulder. They know if you give the ball away, I'm not going to get onto him. You know, I know what he's like, because that's a manager, right? Whether you're at work, anywhere, whatever industry you're in, it's how can I get the best out of this team so we can achieve, we can work to some exceptional results.
Well, I think the first footballer or someone in football that's come on the podcast have been so open about, you know, men's emotions and emotions in general. I think it's a really, really understated topic. The last thing I want to touch upon with the national team is the World Cup, which we'll speak about in a moment. But also the national team and the shirts that you wore. And was there a time? I know that you said when you were on the pitch you weren't thinking, "Oh, Weston McKennie's next to me," but have you swapped any shirts with anyone? Was there a tendency where you're not allowed?
I did with I think his name was George Bello. I think he was a fringe player for the USA at the time. I think I was late to get a shirt, but he's a good player. He's a good player, young player. Obviously, he's not in the squad now. But even getting a USA shirt, really, swapping a shirt with someone on the pitch, and, you know, Pulisic came on the pitch after. I support Chelsea. He was at Chelsea at the time, and I just said to him, "Mate, you do well for Chelsea." Yeah, and he's like, "Yeah." But just to be there, it was quite surreal, to be fair. It all goes so fast. You've got to really take it in. It all goes so fast. I'm the type of guy, I like to take videos and pictures, although I like to be present. But sometimes I sit down and just look back at them. And just like, even the change room banter, I just look back and think, I really did that shit. You know what I mean? So, sorry about my language, but yeah, like I did that.
That's the thing. I think some people tend to just live in the present instead of live in the future instead of the present. Because people just think about what's next. And I am a culprit of that. I've been told in the past, actually, you know what, slow down, live in the moment, because in a week's time, that's going to be a week old already. And then in a month's time, it's a month old, and so on, and so on, and so on. But a question I was going to ask again was, if you could turn back the clock and swap a show with any USA player, who would you have picked, and would it have been Pulisic?
Yeah, probably. Probably Pulisic. Probably.
He was fantastic.
Captain America, right?
Yeah, well, the LeBron James for soccer.
I was going to say the same thing.
I'm just going to plug my charger in 1 second.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. I wanted to actually touch upon, though, Pulisic, Harry, I don't know if you'd remember, but when his debut in the Premier League, didn't he score in a 5-0 win against Burnley and got a hat-trick?
I can't remember exactly, but all I know...
I should know.
I was going to say, Craig should know this, yeah.
Do you not know? No. I'm sure he got a hat-trick in his first game against Burnley at Turf Moor. But
He just looked very lively. I remember the game against Liverpool he played. No, that was Mudryk. Sorry.
Yeah,
but Pulisic was a lively player anyway.
He was. Yeah. I always liked him. Especially being from USA. He played against England. That's when it was. When I first saw him, he played against England, USA lost 2-0 at Wembley. But that guy was causing some issues. He was still at Dortmund, it was, right?
Yeah.
And he was causing some issues. And obviously, being from the USA, I've always wanted them to do well in football for some reason. I don't know why. I'm not American. I'm thinking, if these guys can do something else, maybe I want to see what they can do in football.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued to learn about your the preparations for a World Cup. I think you played in some of the qualifiers in the early stages. And obviously the World Cup's happening now in America, the place that you love. As you weren't expected, of course, you weren't expected to qualify for the World Cup. I think that's the fact there. But there was a potential for you to do so, and you actually finished third in the group, which would have allowed you to progress to the next round. If the country made the World Cup, would you have been there?
What, this year?
Yeah.
I'd be there in some way, shape, or form.
Do you think there would be a chance that you get in the team as a player?
You never know with Grenada nowadays. I just don't. I don't know. Would I deserve to at the moment? No, because I didn't play last season much, so I wouldn't deserve to on paper. Would I be good enough? Yeah. Good enough to start this time? Questionable. No. I wouldn't start me if I was just being because you do have other players that if I was a manager, I'd be picking them. Guys in League 1, League 2, you've got Aaron Pierre, Omar Beckles, players like that who are centre halves, which is why I had to play left back as well. Not saying I didn't back myself, because I did, I still do. It's just that, if you're looking to do as well as possible as a manager, let's be honest, you're going to look for experience.
And did you find any difficulties playing at left back? Because obviously it's a very different position to playing for central defender. But obviously, I assume you're left-footed, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, I imagine, so naturally that would be a massive help to you. But did you have the pace to sort of do a good shift there, or did you struggle with it?
I had the pace. It's just more so understanding. Okay, see, a lot of players, they've got like their brothers, for example. I'm an only child, right? I've got half brothers. They've got that kind of close circle, staying up, watching every game, telling them, you played well, bro, you played well, and whether it's your friends or you played well. I thought I wasn't playing well. So if you've got those people to kind of give you that healthy confidence, I think that's where you progress. The only thing I struggled with at left back is throw-ons, really, because at the end of the day, we didn't concede much. But as a centre half, I'm taking throw-ons like a weirdo. I don't know how to do any throw-ons. I'm not really good. I'm not any hand sports. It's not me. But if you look at the stats and what we achieved, people couldn't really break us down, and I think that's because of how I was. You defend first, right? And I am quite good with my feet as well. I'm quite athletic. I'm quite fit. I wasn't the fittest at the time, but I was still able to get up and down. Just sometimes I lack the confidence, man. That's all it was with me. And it wasn't that I'm not a confident guy. It's just that when you get on a pitch, again, everyone's there to support each other. And, you see the best of players suffer with a lack of confidence. Remember Fernando Torres and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's really important, again, I want to touch upon to speak about those topics. And of course, when you are without a club and you are without a national team at times, it can be quite difficult when you're used to being in those environments that you touched upon earlier. But as we're moving on to the next, into the new season, what's the club situation like?
Oh yeah, no, I signed for Flatwell Heath, so step 4. Look, I believe, I jump back in because I believe I can represent the club and help them do well. But I also believe if I play well, I have all the attributes to go as far as I can, really. There's no reason why I don't. I'm a good player. It's just that it's finding that love for football again. You see me play when I'm in a good headspace, which is what I'm working on, because sometimes I won't be in a good headspace, but I'm a good player. It's just about, do I have that love to play week in, week out, not let other things get to my head and just focus solely on football, because football is good focus, good direction. In life especially, I feel like this season I've lacked. I've kept in shape, but what am I working towards? What's that dopamine hit? Because remember, for my whole life I've had game Saturday or game Sunday. First time you're just going to work and you're staying fit. I need that, and that's what I took the time out to kind of gather my bearings. But I didn't jump in for no reason. I'm there to kind of do my thing, and first of all, have fun. Just have fun.
That's what it's all about at the end of the day. But that's quite similar to me, actually. I mean, unfortunately, a few weeks ago I played my last ever game for my Sunday League team, a team I played with since I was 3 years old. And I'll tell you this. 3, yeah. I'll tell you this, it's very difficult now waking up on a Sunday, not having a game, and not having that adrenaline on Saturday night. I think I've got a game tomorrow, I'm going to tomorrow. And I'm now finding my Sundays a little bit, I mean, I'm feeling the day, but I'm just finding it a little bit hard to get out of that structure because I miss it so much.
I get that. I'm starting to wonder if I should go to a different place because the lighting doesn't seem good.
Well, you can walk and talk. You're more welcome to do that if you'd like.
Once if it gets too dark here.
But I think we've all hit the bingo card. I think we're all in that same situation where I think as guys, as we're used to being in such a very scheduled environment, it's really difficult to unschedulise, if that's even a word, and just to let your wings fly. It's actually really difficult to think that we could all potentially be retired and have absolutely nothing to do. I think we'd all probably go insane. Flatwell Heath sounds like a very familiar name. Is that in London?
Just outside, really. Isn't that Beaconsfield?
Harry?
Yeah, I think I know that. Is it on the way to Wigan?
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems like a great club. The manager as well. I'm big. I could pick up on that. He seems like a really first of all, for football, nice guy. Him and his assistant, nice, just down to earth guys. And that's where I want to be, right? You're not always going to get that, but I could just sense it, and I just want to. I continue to learn.
So what are then, if you had to pinpoint a few goals or a few aims for the next, let's say 4 to 5 years, what would they be? And do you think that you could meet them if you put the work in?
The thing with me is just consistency, playing week in, week out. I'm not looking past that. If I could you only improve with consistency. You start doing things that you don't realise you could do because you're on the pitch getting those reps. So for me, the bottom line is, can I play 20 games, preferably in a row? But I'm just looking at consistency because I know if I do that and I'm playing all right, things happen from there. And again, I'm not banking on things happening. For me, that's just a personal goal of mine. Just to play consistently. Because once you do and you play well, things do happen. I'm not banking on that. But yeah, simple and effective, really.
And that's the truth, right? And maybe it's jumping back to where you were a few years back, saying that you're at QPR, and perhaps you had that ego because you came from QPR.
Yeah.
Now you're a man. Now you're still 26, still relatively young, in the football sense as well. You could potentially still be playing in 10 years' time, and the sky is the limit. Have you got? I mean, I think we all want to play in the Premier League. Maybe Harry and I up front and you in defence. I don't know if that can still happen. But what's the realistic target for you in terms of where you want to finish your career at the highest level?
See, all tactically, this is a different topic. Now you've got a career, right? I know some players that they've got to a certain level, but they're like, I'm going to go back down because I've got my career. I can make some decent money. Not say all about money, but again, There's loads of things you could do with football wage if you're focused. It's a hard one because if you do go to the full-time like conference, not every club has the money to pay you a decent wage. It could be a 1-year contract, you see, and that's where your career starts looking a bit more shaky. Like if you've got a family or whatnot, how do you plan for the future? So I guess I'm not really thinking about that because you never know. It depends on the team. Of course, I'd love to play full-time football again, whether that's in the conference or League Two or whatnot, whatever happens. But you do have to think about your career as well. That is your long term. That allows you to even buy your boots to play football, and
very true.
look after yourself and look after your future, which is the most important, really, your long term. Every high profile person I've spoken to, the first thing they say is, and before I went to Belgium, to be fair, a high profile person said to me, think about your long term. Think about your long term. And that's what I'll be doing.
Oh, have we lagged out?
Still, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You've only just literally just ended speaking. For me.
No. Harry's lagged out. It's that crappy Wi-Fi he's got. It must be associated with Mackie D's or something. Harry, you're the one with the bad Wi-Fi, I think. Because I knew you were going to speak, and then it just went awfully silent.
I didn't hear the end of it.
Saying about high.
So every high profile person I've spoken to, and whether it's an athlete, and if this one person was an athlete, they just say, think about your long term. So before I went to Belgium, I asked for some advice, and he goes, sounds good, but think about your long term.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me, right? Because these people are where they are for a reason.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, and it backs up to what you said earlier about thinking about logistically. You've got a mother to care for, you've got family to build, and I think that's the case with people Jamie and I have spoken to before. These footballers who have families and actually think, do you know what? Football is my number one aim, but over the next few years, it will take a back seat because I want to build this family up and spend that quality time with my children.
Yeah, and you cross paths with a lot of people, and they don't understand that at the time. When you're an athlete or you've got your hands in different pies, you can't really communicate that. As athletes, we're used to putting in the work and letting the results show. A lot of people, they build out these plans, and not to say that's the right way to do things, but when you're an athlete, it's kind of different. You're used to no, I need to do the work, and the results will show. And people around you, whether that's a missus or they might not understand that. They might think this guy doesn't care or whatnot, or but you're just trying to do the work first.
Footballers tend to have children very young. I mean, I remember Phil Foden, I think he was a dad at about 20, which is pretty insane. Craig, I'm presuming you want kids, right?
Yeah, I want kids. Yep, definitely want kids. I'll be a great dad.
Yeah, of course. I reckon you would. And could we expect something? I reckon the advice that you're giving to the audience and to us that obviously would take on board. You would be a great dad in terms of giving the advice to the daughter or son that you have. But would you like them to be down the professional footballer route too, or would you say, by all means try and do it, but it's a very difficult thing to do?
Look, it's important for them to be in sport because the lessons I've learned, it's actually shaped me today. I know a lot of people. I spoke to someone else's dad actually in my family. He's like, I don't want my son to play sport. Look what you've gone through. Yes, it looks ugly. Feels ugly at the time. But when I'm able to go into a corporate role now, I've learnt these things. I'm able to carry myself in a certain way and bounce back and speak to people a certain way, communicate, take on a disappointment, bounce back and understand, who I am and how to handle certain situations because I've experienced certain things from a young age, and most footballers have. Disappointment, you get dropped. Right, what do we do now? As a parent, one thing I'm not going to do is make an Instagram page for my kids and start putting all this pressure on them. No, go and enjoy, go and enjoy what you're doing. And also, I'm not gonna hide you from certain situations. I want you to get that exposure. Go through it. Embrace the feelings. Because when you feel something, it builds wisdom after. You then know, I made a mistake here, but that's what builds wisdom, And you're able to learn from being in the situation, learn on the job. And it's all about changing perspective, right? yeah, I went through that, but what did it teach me? Yeah, what was the effect? What was the knock-on effect? Or I spent too much money, or I used this contract for this. What did that teach you? You know, no one can. People can tell you what you want, but as humans, sometimes we don't. We learn the hard way sometimes, you know. And I would never hide my kid from those hard situations. Or you get injured, how does it feel? Because then you start to treat people with empathy as well. You know.
And that leads on to my final question, actually, that I was going to ask you is, do you think, no matter what the topic is, it's always best to be open and honest and just keep a clear frame of mind? Because if you, as we all know, if you get things off your chest, you feel so much better already. Like, a problem solved is a problem shared.
Yeah, and when you can't be honest, like I was listening to, I saw John Cena's got some good tweets. He's good on Twitter. When you find yourself in a situation where you can't be honest, you're in the wrong place. You know, you need to be able to be honest. First of all, with yourself in any situation. If you can't be honest with yourself, then you know, no point being honest with others. But honesty is a big thing. Right, I'm here right now, or you know what, I need to work on my headering. Or not thinking that I'm the best here. No, what do I need to work on? Or, you know what, I didn't handle that situation great. I need to apologise to this guy. Or, I need to handle this situation better. Or, yeah, just like the few things I said. Honesty leads to so many things. Yeah. Whether you're honest on the pitch, like you're working hard on the pitch, being, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Can I ask you, Kraig, is my final question off the pitch? How was your time in New York, I believe where you were at? What was that like to be over there?
Oh, just recently?
Yes.
Yeah, good. New York, obviously big on basketball.
It's expensive though, right?
Oh! I was with someone, me and her went to was it the Skyline? What's this called? Yeah, I think it's the Skyline. Yeah. Massive building. Get in there, tried to get a few drinks, 70 quid for two. $70 for two, $70. So I was like, whoa. Good job we're only there for a couple of days, but it's good. America's it's an interesting place, to say the least.
I can imagine. I mean, if anyone ever told me $70, pounds, whatever it might be for two drinks, I'd be saying get the tap water even if you can't possibly drink it. You know what I mean?
I'm not rich, but you know, at the time, just like let's just live it up.
Yeah. Then you come home and suffer those consequences, I suppose.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, kind of, depending on how much you've saved up, of course.
Yeah.
But look, Kraig, no, I really appreciate you joining us. I'm sure Harry would say the same thing, speaking about your entire career, but of course touching upon the most important aspects on and off the pitch of mental health as well. But Kraig, thank you very much for joining us.
No problem at all. I hope you're happy with the answers, and try to be as honest as possible.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you very much, Kraig.